Hello everyone, Nathaniel Gavronsky here, and I'm in Washington, D.C. I want to talk to you about the events that took place over the last couple of days. Now, I traveled from Iowa to Washington, D.C. because I want to be part of something I thought was going to be a really, really special event. There's a couple things I wanted to see here. One, I wanted to see the Trump event where the President of the United States, was speaking to a crowd of supporters right outside the White House along the elliptical. I mean, that was going to be an amazing scene to be able to see that. I remember seeing him on the 4th of July at the Lincoln Memorial and at the Mount Rushmore. But beyond that, still, you're getting to see the President of the United States, regardless of who that individual is, outside of one of a major national monument. And to be able to experience that might not come around again for quite some time. You know, previous to this, most people don't have the ability to go see a sitting president do anything. I've been a little bit more fortunate because I've been running around political circles that I have made friends with the people who are running for president and have been able to keep in touch with them while they were sitting presidents and meet with them after their term was over. So not everyone gets to experience that, and I understand that, and I wanted to be a part of something like this. So that was one of the main reasons why I came out here, because that's an experience, and I want to say that I was there. Also, now I know what the results were going to be in the House and the Senate, because even though there were a lot of members of the House and a few members of the Senate that were willing to contest the results, there were not enough votes that were going to overturn and change the election results. Now, there's a question of the constitutionality of Vice President Mike Pence being able to do something, but as much as I have studied the Constitution and reviewed it, I'm not for sure if he legally could or legally couldn't. And I believe that for him in his heart, what he was able to see in the Constitution and what he was able to feel comfortable with, he didn't believe he had that power. Now, Al Gore in 2000, when they did this, Maxine Waters tried to object on the House side, and he asked, do you have someone in the Senate? And she said, no, I don't, and I don't, quite frankly. Anyway, Al Gore responded, well, I don't really care, the rules are the rules. And Al Gore, she was contesting the results to put Al Gore as the winner. And Al Gore understood that he couldn't do that. Now, the results of this 2020 election, they're going to be doubted by over half of the voting population, probably forever. But so was the 1960 election. Now, Nixon didn't challenge it. He should have, but he didn't. President Trump is one of the first presidents to take it to this level. There have been times where the House of Representatives and the Senate had to do their duty, and the Supreme Court had to do their duty, but that wasn't going to happen this time. So the path forward, Trump was the first one to go this route. And it would have been better if the Supreme Court would have just listened to the case, because then all the evidence would have had to have gotten out. They would have reviewed it, and they would have seen, is there enough here to where they send it to the states, had to redo something, if they had to determine a specific cutoff. Look at the Supreme Court had told Pennsylvania they had to segregate some of the ballots. And there was a big question on the validation of the signatures. And there was a lot of fraud with people voting in the wrong state, the ballots going everywhere. There were people that were arrested for destroying ballots that were in the mail to be delivered. There was a lot going on, and these are facts that this had happened. Now, I do think that they probably should have stated that, in court, that this is fraud. But according to even the Trump people themselves, they never said in court that there was fraud. So now, either there was fraud or it wasn't. So I think in court they would have said that, yes, there is fraud and this is what it is. But in court, from my understanding, and if someone has a clip of an audio clip and a video to go with it, it shows that they said, yes, we believe it is fraud in this specific thing and this specific thing. This is fraud, fraud, fraud. On the Trump team's move, then I would say that, yeah, there's something here to look at. But they didn't say that. Now, was there a lot of affidavits signed, which is evidence? The affidavits are legal, evidence of something, those should have been heard. There is enough video, there was enough other witness testimony to say that maybe certain counties and certain states, things didn't go the way they're supposed to. Maybe the Supreme Court that state overstepped their balance. Maybe a governor did, a Secretary of State violated what state law was. Because don't forget, the state houses, the state legislatures are the ones that are in control of this stuff. And a lot of their rules and their laws that were being overturned by different entities of the state government. So yeah, there's room for review on just what happened in 2020. Unfortunately, because the Supreme Court decided they weren't going to hear it, and most other state courts and federal courts didn't want to hear it, just because they don't want to be involved in it, we're never going to know at this point. The machines are going to be removed, the ballots are going to be shredded. It's over. It's all academic at this point. So that's, but I wanted to go into the gallery, and I wanted to watch, Representative Gates, and I wanted to watch Senator Cruz, and I wanted to watch a few of these other people give their testimony. I wanted to see that. I wanted to watch that process, because it was part of the holistic experience of the president talking about this stuff and then going and watching Congress deal with it in a joint session. That would have been really cool. However, unfortunately, that didn't get to happen. I didn't get my full experience as I intended. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I saw at the Capitol building. I saw a lot of things. It was really hard to watch, but I felt it was a duty for public record, the best of my ability, to show what I saw. And, also, even though it wasn't the history I wanted to see, it was, in fact, history. And if I'm going to be a part of history, good or bad, then you don't really get to choose which side of good or bad that is. History is history. We'll find out, some things you'll find out years later if it was the good or the bad. Sometimes you find out really quickly, like breaking into the Capitol. That was bad. There's no good thing about breaking into the Capitol building. There was a legal way of entering into the Capitol. Anyone could do it, actually. There's a visitor center. You can walk in, you can check in properly. They see your ID, make sure you don't have anything on you you're not supposed to have. Sometimes it is a lot easier getting your congressional member or a senator to get you a tour set up, because it just saves you a lot of time. And there's ways to do this. Even entering in the White House, you can go into the White House. It takes a little bit of negotiating with times and dates and getting the time off, and you got to be there like 7 a.m. But you can do it legally, without having to storm the place, without having to be protesting. You can go in and see, the president's house. And, that's really cool. A lot of our buildings are open to the public for this thing. But when it comes down to what happened at the Capitol the other day, and what the media is saying about it, this is where things are going to get a little different for me. Okay. Were there actual bona fide Trump supporters that were there and entered the Capitol unlawfully? Yes. Were they the instigators of it? No. In fact, a lot of the people that were the initial people breaking into the building had much different ulterior motives. Were there a couple of really conspiracy theorist guys there? Yes. But they're generally just crazy kind of in general, regardless of who they support. There were people that we identified as anarchist communist. We were able to capture one of their phones, and we were able to identify them from pictures from past rallies of Antifa and Black Lives Matter that they attended, with their tattoos, their markings, and other features of themselves. And we found them at the Capitol. They were the ones actually trying to damage and break things for the most part. Now, around the Capitol building itself, there was a lot of areas where it appeared that you were being allowed to go in there. As it appeared, because those aren't lawful entrance areas. But if you didn't know that and the door was open, I'm sorry, but most people wouldn't realize that. And the common sense, you think, would tell people, well, it says not a public entrance, but the door's open. You shouldn't be going. You should have just kept, enjoy the outside, which is where the instructions told you to go, the northwest corner, and that whole back area there between the Supreme Court and the U.S. Capitol was where everyone was supposed to go. And no one was supposed to, enter into the Capitol unlawfully. That wasn't part of the program. That wasn't on the description of the event. And this is a serious problem. That being said, the former Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, went on TV today to say that they were all terrorists. There's all domestic terrorism. These people are thugs. These people were demented. Mr. Unity guy. Here's the thing. The whole summer, not only did Washington burn, but Minnesota, Portland, Seattle, New York City, many, many cities across the country were on fire. And we were told this is mostly peaceful protesting, when I can show you stuff from New York that there was no protesting. They're just baseball bats to shop windows. And a protest is supposed to be designed, against the government entity, redress of grievances. But you're kind of stretching that line a little bit there with protesting. But it's supposed to be towards government entities, which the Capitol building is part of the government. Macy's is not part of the government. Starbucks is not part of the government. Bank of America is not part of the government. Soho is not part of the government. All those streets, all those businesses downtown Manhattan are not part of the government. Seattle, all those businesses, those residences there are not part of the government. You were terrorizing people for weeks on end in those cities. Burning businesses down, destroying people's livelihoods, burning down people's grocery stores. People's jobs were destroyed, and Wendy's and other types of restaurants were destroyed, and that's people's livelihoods. And that might be the only restaurant within the area that they could get hired on. You completely destroyed people's livelihoods, and that was a peaceful protest. Now, in this situation, one person was killed in the Capitol building by police force. There were 3 others that died due to other incidences. One that I saw, I believe also got shot, but I think it was by a rubber bullet. He might have had a heart attack. I have documentation of that. There was, not of the heart attack, but he got shot. I watched him go down. There was another person who fell. I saw that happen. And so, I mean, there is that, but I mean, it wasn't because of police action. It was because of their own stupidity, I believe, for the most part. Now, the riots that took place, there were cops, off-duty cops that got shot. There were a guy trying to protect his store got shot and killed. He was a former officer. There were many children that were shot and killed in the riots over the summer. Now, at the Capitol the other day, there were actually little kids there because people were there, not in an angry mob, but they were there, cheering on, singing the national anthem, like they were doing at the Trump speech, saying "God bless America," they're singing the national anthem. There were a lot of things where they were kind of sharing in the patriotism of the country and what they were getting to experience, and that was kind of happening at the Capitol initially. Now, there was actually quite a few people that went there and saw what was going on, like, well, this is something completely different. I mean, you're never going to go to a Trump rally and see people wearing tactical helmets and masks and body armor that aren't the Secret Service. I've been to countless Trump rallies, and you never see Trump supporters showing up there in body armor. This event, there was plenty of people wearing body armor, and their faces were completely covered. They were dressed like suitor military. Now, who these people are, no one was able to really tell. I didn't know who they were. I've never seen them before, and you don't see them at Trump rallies. These people had already stationed and lined up where they were going to go and what they were going to do. So that's a little scary, and that's something completely different from a Trump rally. But saying that all of those Trump supporters stormed the Capitol is not an accurate statement. When you can say that the Black Lives Matter and what happened over the summer, that was weeks upon weeks. This lasted an afternoon in D.C., and there were a lot of people that I saw that were trying to prevent people from entering into the Capitol. And I've seen a lot of video of people that were in the Capitol before they realized that, well, okay, we're not allowed in here, okay, we're going to leave. But in the meantime, they actually prevented other things from being stolen or broken. They entered believing incorrectly that they were allowed to go in. Once they were asked to leave, these people were leaving and were taking other people with them to get out. People were trying to knock over statues. There was people trying to steal vases, other things. And the actual Trump supporters, once they realized that they needed to leave for whatever reason, they grabbed these other people, pulled them off of things. They had a ladder they brought out of there. And I've seen video of all of this. And we were sharing it with the FBI today, making sure they got all of our footage so that we could make sure that, all the evidence that we could give them was given to them so we can help find the people who were actually causing the serious problems. It was less than 1% of the crowd that was causing problems. Now, when I took the videos from the Capitol, there's a lot of people there, but very few people were actually trying to damage anything. More or less people were actually just trying to record it with their cell phones and, witnessing history if they liked it or not. And you say, well, how dare they watch, they witness history? At the first Battle of Bull Run, or Battle of Manassas during the U.S. Civil War, that was so close to D.C. that most socialites of the D.C. area went there with picnic baskets to watch it, not realizing that war is bloody, and so it didn't last long. But people have the right to witness history, and I think many people kind of got caught in the moment to witness it. Now, for what happened in the Capitol, the damaging to Nancy Pelosi's office, that is currently Nancy Pelosi's office. But beyond that, it's the Speaker of the House's office. That was Paul Ryan's, that was Newt Gingrich's, that was, many, many speakers of the House have had that office. It's not tied to a Republican or a Democrat. It's tied to the Speaker of the House. It's part of an institution of the American government, and breaking into it and destroying it is not patriotic. I don't care if you like the Speaker of the House as the current member of Congress who's the Speaker of the House or not. It's not correct. And I hope the guy who got his picture taken sitting in her chair without her permission does get charged and has to. I understand they took things from that office. They completely destroyed that office. I talked to one of her staffers today that I am a pretty good friend with. I've known for a while, and she's really shooken up. I mean, her desk got ravaged, just completely destroyed. She has some of her personal items that are missing. Like her pictures off her desk are missing. A bunch of her stuff got destroyed. Her personal belongings. That's not cool. They destroyed the chances of Congress, the joint session of Congress, actually getting through what was going on and some of the disputes of the election. And so this wasn't helpful. And for anyone who thinks this was helpful, it's not. Now, again, what we saw in the summer, massive amount of burning, massive amounts of destruction, and many people died over the summer. Some were cops, some were civilians, a couple of them were children that weren't even really able to understand what was going on. And that was deemed by CNN, MSNBC, all of them, as being peaceful protests. Yeah, it is a quote. Things are mostly peaceful. Yes, the fires have been started as all the restaurants and in the whole area were on fire. People were trying to protect their livelihoods, and they're being called terrorists for trying to defend their livelihoods, but the people trying to burn down their business were called peaceful protesters. And that went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. And one day in Washington, and again, I'm a uniter, I'm going to heal the country, every one of them is a terrorist. Every one of them is absolutely a white supremacist terrorist. And Kamala Harris, or Kamala, I don't know how many times you can pronounce her name, she let a lot of people off when she was Attorney General of California. Their party is advocating for very, very dangerous criminals to be let out of jail for COVID, for a variety of reasons. Sex offenders, rapists, murderers, very, very violent criminals. Let them all out because we think that we need to let them out because of their skin color. But you guys, we're going to call you all Trump supporters, and we're going to make sure you never see the light of day again. That's not equal protection under the law, and that's persecutory prosecution. I think the people who broke into the Capitol should be prosecuted and face judgment. But the people who rioted over the summer, they should have gotten the same treatment. Time and time again in Oregon, in Washington State, California, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I spent a lot of time in Minneapolis. I could see some of the damage. Everyone got let off. They were you can beat up a cop, resist arrest, you can damage property, all this stuff without being charged with anything in most major cities if you are a Black Lives Matter protester. But if you're saying, hey, I believe that you guys cheated my vote, and I believe that you guys cheated on the election, and I believe that, for whatever other things that you possibly believe in, you're trying to destroy my way of life, you're trying to prevent me from being able to protect my family, you're trying to destroy my religion, you're trying to murder babies, whatever you want to say, you can't say that these people aren't allowed to voice their concerns without being thrown in jail until eternity. But these people, because of a message that they hold, they can do whatever they want without repercussion, because we just think that they should be, that we're going to give them equality. That's not equality. That's not equality. That's privilege. Letting Black Lives Matter burn down cities and not punishing them, but anyone who is supporting Donald Trump gets sent to prison for life. That's a privilege. That's the definition of privilege, and it's not even based on skin color, but that would be a privilege. These people don't get that same privilege. That's not fair. I'm asking for equal protection under the law. I believe that what happened over the summer and what happened just for one day in Washington are not equal. What they broke into was really serious and was very bad. But they took over and held a police station over the summer. More than just one. I mean, the police station was set on fire. The Capitol building was not set on fire, and the two bombs were not on the Capitol. One was at the Republican National Committee, and one was the Democratic. So they were both of the parties had a bombs put on their property. Now, if you're an anarchist, you want to see the end of government, you'd want to destroy both entities. So that would have been the way to do it. But what I'm saying is, this was not Donald Trump's fault. Did he say we should go to the Capitol? Yes. Did he say we should fight? Yes. But he meant by using the pen. He meant by, using our voices. The proper way of using the First Amendment and regressive grievances is by the pen and by the voice. Being able to show support for those members of Congress that were going to object to the election results. That's what we're supposed to support, and that's what he encouraged us to do. Donald Trump attempted to tell everyone via Twitter, via Facebook, and all the social media, please go home. If you're a peaceful protester, go home. And you know what Twitter did? They shut him down. You can't say, well, Mr. Trump, you didn't tell them to go home. You didn't tell your supporters to pack it in and go home. Well, you shut him down. You did not allow him to voice that. You can't criticize someone for not doing something. You won't let them do it. It's like holding someone down against their will and telling them to get up. All right? Now, we all know in that situation, we think that's wrong, right? We saw it over the summer. It's not right to hold someone down and then tell them to get up. So telling someone, hey, we want you to tell your supporters to quit doing this, but we're not going to let you do it. We're not going to let you tell them. We're going to mute you. We're going to censor you. We're going to shut your voice down. That's not right. Now, as soon as Trump was able to find out what's going on, get a message sent out, he did that. And he was very, very clear that he condemned it. And he was very, very clear that, he wanted, yes, to all of his supporters, he's sad, he's disappointed, but that we can move forward. There is a future ahead of us. And honestly, I think that, 4 years of Biden and Democratic rule could piss people so off from the Democrats that it might be 1984 and 2024, but we might even take Minnesota this time. Breaking things, setting things on fire is not a way to do it. I have dealt with hundreds of policymakers by meeting with them of opposite party. I'm a registered Republican, and I talk to Democrats all the time, and I've actually got some things done because I was able to show them how I think, I understand their position, but here's why my position might have a little bit better impact. And a few times they say, you know what, I think you are right. I think this is a better way of going. So yeah, I will come over and support this bill on a bipartisan level. And that worked. If you don't believe me, ask Joni Ernst. If you don't believe her, ask Chuck Grassley. If you don't believe Chuck Grassley, you can ask any other member of Iowa's historical delegation. You can ask people from Illinois, from Wisconsin, from New York, New Jersey. Bipartisanship works. But we say that, New York and California failed because they're one-party states. By having a reasonable opposition party and being able to communicate, you can govern effectively. Iowa, I think, has a very good opposition party. The Republicans and Democrats, they don't agree on how to run the government, but they're friends with each other. And I'm actually good friends with a lot of Democrats in the Iowa legislature, and they comment on my stuff on Facebook all the time. And I comment on their stuff all the time. But you know what? When I see him, we elbow bump, and I say, hey, it's good to see you, man. I'm glad you're okay. Because he's a human being, and I like him as a person. I don't agree with his politics, but I like him. And if I can, I'll hang out with him. He's a good guy. And then I'll go to my Republican friends and, elbow bump them and like, hey, how's it going? How's the business? How's it going? Let's work on this policy. We're all human. We're all on the same side. And I dislike the fact that Antifa and Black Lives Matter, by these identity politics, they're trying to break us apart and divide us. And they're using, the institutions of our country to do it. It's time to shut that out. It's time to start seeing people as our friends and our fellow countrymen. And even though we disagree with them politically, but we can still agree that there's certain things that we agree on that we want to get fixed and work on those. By working on those, we're going to have an understanding of the issues that we have differences on, and be able to show the other side each other's position in a way that we might be able to craft better policy to solve those problems as well. Now, I know this video is getting really long, so I'm gonna sign off here in a minute. But I just really want to say that you got to treat both sides equally. The media has not shown equal, calling out of bad actors from the riots in the summer. It has not been equal as far as compared to how they describe and tell about what happened at the Capitol building. Go back and look over the summer and all those videos and look at what happened at the Capitol. One day, nothing got burnt down. Over the summer, where multiple cities got burnt down, it lasted for months. Yes, one person died over here from a gunshot wound from a police officer, and 3 others died from other issues. Many people died, and beyond that, many people lost their livelihoods for a long time. Their homes, their livelihoods, their places of business, their grocery store, their pharmacy, that's gone. That's way more damaging. Loss of life, notwithstanding, but this is going to have the burning, the amount of money. I mean, the Capitol building, they broke a couple of windows, a couple of doors are damaged, but most of it is not permanent. It's a very quick, easy fix. Over here, we're talking businesses might not reopen because it was already going to be tough for them to begin with. So we need to look at things in perspective and objectively, that one is not the same to the other, because they're not. And if you're going to condemn what happened over here, you got to condemn this. And if you condemned what you saw over here over the summer, then this also needs to be condemned, because I didn't enter the Capitol illegally. Everything I did was legal, and I made sure that I explained why I was there, showed that I was able to get press credentials, and which they freaking got taken, but whatever. The curfew, we had to turn that in, but I got a pass to get back to my hotel. So thank you, U.S. Secret Service. I would appreciate the pass to get back to my hotel. I wish everyone a good night. I wish I could have got to keep my credentials, because those are cool, but we can't keep them. Everyone's got to turn them back in. But nice. Thanks, everyone, especially to all the officers I dealt with. I know a lot of you just doing your jobs, even the ones who tried to break into the hotel last night. There was a situation, you guys figured it out, got it solved, and it was over and done with. But everyone, I wish you all a good night. I hope we can start working past some of the anger and start trying to concentrate on what we can do together, because I'm going to work with the Democrats and the Republicans on issues that I can. And I'm not going to call them names. We're going to disagree on things, but there's ways to work together, and there always has been. And we should focus on what we can do together. I don't think that the Joe Biden administration is going to be able to do all that much. Trump had the Senate, the House, and the presidency at one time too, and not much happened. So, I mean, Clinton's had that, he lost it. Bush had that, he lost it. So it's just chances are, if you're a Republican, you want to see more Republicans, the party that is in opposition to the presidency usually does better. Biden had the presidency in 2022, so the opposition, the Republicans, should do well in Congress, in the elections, and the governor's mansions, and the state legislatures. Last thing I'm going to say is if you really want to have an impact on elections and on how ballots work and mail-in voting and all of this stuff, it's not here in Washington, D.C. You deal with that. What you need to do is you need to really concentrate on your state legislatures themselves. The state legislatures are a very powerful institution as designed by the federal Constitution. The state governments actually have more of an impact on elections and the winners of those elections and how elections work and how voting works and who can and cannot vote and what requirements are there to vote. That's all state legislatures' jobs. So concentrate on that. Work on your state legislatures. Make sure that they're writing bills and go talk to them. You know how easy it is to look them up on the website of your local state and call them up and say, hey, my name is, and I want to meet with you on this specific reason. And they'll be like, okay, great, come on up. It's really simple. It's really easy. And let's work on that between now and 2022 so we can ensure the sanctity of our voting. And for everyone else, please stay healthy, stay wealthy, stay wise, and as always, stay classy.